Well, as people know, Hezbollah exists as a state within a state. And so to the extent that the overarching state of Lebanon is in crisis, whether it's an economic crisis, political crisis, financial crisis, that gives Hezbollah the opportunity to make itself more powerful, to insinuate itself more within the Lebanese social fabric, and to engage in activities that the state or the financial institutions within Lebanon are unable to do. Hezbollah, ironically, for an organization that portrays itself as a defender of Lebanon, becomes more powerful the weaker Lebanon becomes. And the more powerful Hezbollah becomes, the weaker Lebanon becomes. Well, that remains to be seen, and there's a lot of factors at play. Again, if the state of Lebanon is not able to assert its sovereignty vis-a-vis Hezbollah, then Hezbollah will become stronger. If the state of Lebanon is unable to build its own financial system and rebuild its banks, then Hezbollah's banks and Hezbollah's financial system will become more important and stronger. To the extent that Lebanon, the people of Lebanon cannot defeat Hezbollah's efforts to usurp Lebanon's sovereignty, Hezbollah will become stronger. Fortunately, there's forces within Lebanon and around the world that do seek to check Hezbollah's interests and check Iran's interest in interfering in Lebanon. And so there's a battle going on right now between the forces that would like to see Lebanon exist as a sovereign state with its own banks and its own financial system and its own self-determination, and those who would like to see Hezbollah continue it as it has in the past, grow increasingly influential in all those aspects. Well, Hezbollah is a global conglomerate. Think of it as Hezbollah Incorporated. So Hezbollah has business interests and financial interests all over the world, in South America, in Europe, in Asia, even in North America, and Europe, of course. Hezbollah, for the money that Hezbollah makes, including from narcotics trafficking and other illicit activities, that money eventually finds its way back to Lebanon. That is one of the ways Hezbollah sustains itself, but it also is one of the ways that Hezbollah is able to gain influence, not just within southern Lebanon, but within Lebanon as a whole. It buys its influence with politicians, it buys its influence within banks, it buys its influence within the economy, it buys its influence by allowing them to engage in social programs that, frankly, legitimate charities or the government should be providing rather than Hezbollah. All of that allows Hezbollah to run complex financial networks. It allows Hezbollah to infiltrate government agencies, financial agencies, and the financial system as a whole. Qard al-Hassan is just one of the most extreme examples of that. Qard al-Hassan is a financial is not technically a financial institution, so it's not regulated by the Lebanese financial authorities. If anybody's regulating, I suppose it would be the Iranian central bank. And it allows Hezbollah to provide loans. It allows Hezbollah to have people provide accounts, gives them money to invest. It provides them a place to warehouse their money. And the fact that the Lebanese financial system has more or less collapsed over the past few years has allowed Qard al-Hassan to step into the shoes of formerly legitimate banks. And so it's one of the reasons why I think it's so important for the international community and for Lebanon and for the Lebanese officials to work to reconstruct the Lebanese financial system, to identify the legitimate banks, identify the legitimate financial players, and allow them to provide the types of financial services that right now, unfortunately, Qard al-Hassan was providing until until it was at least physically destroyed. Hezbollah exists as a state within a state, and like any state, it needs to raise funds in order to do what the things that it wants to do. And in Hezbollah's case, that's just about everything that a government would do. They maintain a military. They've invaded neighboring countries. They've attacked other neighboring countries with missiles. They run social services. They run financial services. All of that is expensive, and Hezbollah therefore needs elaborate financial networks around the world and elaborate economic activities throughout the world, both technically legal and in many cases illegal activities, to provide its funding and allow it to do the things that it does. So to the extent that counterterrorism efforts and counterterrorist financing efforts can crack down on that, to the extent that law enforcement authorities are able to interfere with Hezbollah's narcotics activities, to the extent that counterterrorism authorities and sanctioning authorities are able to identify Hezbollah networks and shut those networks down, or at least interfere with those networks, it all has the impact of providing less financial wherewithal for Hezbollah to act within its safest zone, which is southern Lebanon. Of course, it's important to remember that most of the money Hezbollah gets is directly from the government of Iran. Even very, very aggressive and broad counterterrorism and counterterrorist financing efforts against Hezbollah will only be so successful as long as Iran is permitted to continue to outright fund Hezbollah. Qard al-Hassan acts as a financial institution, even though it's technically not. I mean, it was established. It was supposed to be an NGO when it was established in the 1980s. It's grown into a financial institution, which did all the things that financial institutions do: take deposits, make loans, become part of the community in Lebanon. And unfortunately, when the Lebanese financial system crashed over the past few years, because Qard al-Hassan is not technically part of the Lebanese financial system, it was able to step in and grow in size and grow in importance and provide a lot of the financial services that the legitimate Lebanese financial system has been unable to provide. Again, another reason why it's so important to ensure that there is a legitimate Lebanese financial system with real, legitimate, trustworthy banks, so that people in Lebanon are not dependent on the largesse of Hezbollah and a so-called quote unquote financial institution that receives huge parts of its funding from illegitimate activities, from illegal activities, and in certain cases directly from some terrorist regimes. I think the United States has been fairly consistent across administrations with respect to how it views Hezbollah. Hezbollah is a terrorist organization that the United States opposes and take actions against. The incoming Trump administration has certainly demonstrated itself to be less interested in the idea of an accommodation with Iran than previous Democratic administrations have been. So I think that you could expect the U.S. to take a more aggressive and confrontational stance with respect to Iran. That is going to have an impact on Hezbollah because Hezbollah is in so many different ways simply an arm of Iran. So I do think that Hezbollah is going to have a more difficult time with its funding. I think it's going to have a more difficult time with its international activities as the United States focuses increasingly on those. The United States has long had many different types of sanctions against many different types of Hezbollah entities all around the world. Again, Hezbollah is a global corporation. It's a global conglomerate. Its purpose is to raise funds and transfer those funds into Lebanon so Hezbollah could use them to perpetuate itself and to finance its activities, whatever those activities might be throughout Lebanon, whether it's bribing government officials, whether it's engaging in illegal activities, whether it's engaging in military activities, whether it's to support terrorist activities around the world. All of that is expensive, and its broad global financial network allows it to support that, in addition to the money that it receives directly from Iran. The more aggressive the United States and the United States allies are in terms of trying to interfere with those global financial networks, the less money Hezbollah has, and the less capable Hezbollah becomes. Qard al-Hassan is an important part of that picture, because Qard al-Hassan is where the money comes and how a lot of the money is then dispersed. So the less money that comes in, the less importance Qard al-Hassan will have. But again, it's important to remember that regardless of all the global anti-terrorism, anti-terrorist financing activities that the United States engages in, and the United States partners engage in, Hezbollah receives a substantial portion of its budget directly from Iran, and that's something that will have to change if we want to see Hezbollah be completely neutralized. I'm not sure what you mean by the term radical. As I said, the Trump administration has in the past articulated its strategy with respect to Iran as maximum pressure. I have every expectation that the incoming Trump administration will continue that. I think the incoming Trump administration will be less likely to seek deals and accommodations with Iran than Democratic administrations have been, for better or for worse. So yes, I do think the result of that will be indirectly and directly more financial pressure on Hezbollah.